Dan Byer.
Today on the Rob Dibble Show, NFL Sunday saw a lot of exciting finishes.
Mahomes retreats to the 25, steps up, desperation time, and it's intercepted! The Bills are going to hand the Chiefs loss number 1.
Jackson keeping it. Jackson, fake. Jackson tosses. Incomplete. The pressure was there. Joey Porter Jr. flocking to the quarterback.
Dobbins runs left. Dobbins takes off. Dobbins inside the 10. Dobbins to the end zone. In for the touchdown. And the Chargers take the lead. Got that feeling.
And now, here is Rob Dibble.
Happy Monday to everybody. Woo! It was a incredibly, mediocre weekend when it came to football. No! Especially college football. A lot of disappointments. Thought Tennessee would have played Georgia a little bit better. NFL was better. Jets are still the Jets. Jets still managed to pull out a loss when it looked like they were going to win that game against your Colts. That was a good one, but last night's game obviously was the best one of the weekend. The Bills taking out the Chiefs.
You like that one, huh?
I like that one, but the Bills have to beat them in the postseason. So the Bills are 4-0 against the Chiefs in regular season. They are 0-4 against the Chiefs in the postseason. So they've yet to beat Pat Mahomes and the boys in the postseason. So that's where it really counts. Josh Allen has the most victories against Patrick Mahomes as an opposing quarterback in the NFL. Okay, 4. Patrick Mahomes is amazing. And I did like what a class act Josh Allen is after the game. When they interviewed him, he's like, listen, I'm just happy to be on the same football field playing against this guy. That's how good this guy is. So I think even his peers acknowledge how good Patrick Mahomes is. Actually saw a few calls go against the Chiefs for a change. And that might have been the difference in the game. One of them actually kept a drive alive. Bills went in. They punched it in for a touchdown. But that was a great game. And then we'll get into a lot of these other games as well. But, we got Monday Night Football. You've got the Cowboys versus the Texans tonight. That's the battle for Texas. It was a lot of football over the weekend.
Opening sound courtesy of CBS, Fox, and NBC. I think for the Bills-Kansas City game, for me, was the final play and Josh Allen on a 4th and 2 running it all the way in for a touchdown. Now, this game was a 2-point affair where you can kick a field goal. They were well within field goal range of this guy that misses kicks all the time. But I'm just like McDermott. I'm just like Josh Allen. Like hell, I'm going to put the game in the hands of this kicker or give the ball back to Patrick Mahomes with the chance on a one-possession game to score a touchdown and beat us as they always do. The win is significant for the Buffalo Bills because that gives them 2 losses and a win over the Chiefs. With just the 1 loss, they are counting on someone else to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. But if that were to happen and both go into the playoffs with 2 losses, the Bills will have the number 1 seed, which is significant for a couple of reasons. One, obviously the bye. If they need to get healthy, that would be good for them. But 2, to have home field advantage against this team, I think is very significant. It's tough to win against Kansas City. It's even tougher in Kansas City. And I think for them to get that win, very significant in what they want to do, and that's win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's a few Kansas City wins in that 9-0 run that were, by the skin of their teeth, and they know that. I mean, there's some weaknesses there. And listen, the Bills have a couple of losses on their own, and they probably understand what they've been exposed at. But that was still a hard-fought game. The game that I watched, the later game, the Bengals-Chargers, that was really McPherson blowing that game. McPherson had 2 shots at putting the Bengals up in a 27-27 game. Couldn't do it. The Chargers come down. I'll tell you what, I mean, whatever people say about Jim Harbaugh, guy could coach. He continues to, pull rabbits out of a hat and, stay in games. McPherson helped with the 2 misses. Bengals come up. They're now 4-7. Chargers 7-3. Bengals, and here's the thing watching it. Kurt and I were texting back and forth. Joe Burrow's not going to last more than 5 more years in the league if his offensive line doesn't protect him more. That guy takes shot after shot after shot to deliver the football. And, even when he runs the football, he gets destroyed. So it's not like this guy is safe. He doesn't have the kind of speed a Josh Allen has or Jalen Hurts or somebody like that, any of these other really good quarterbacks. This guy, he's just fast enough to elude guys until somebody else pops him. And he's not going to last. And so your window of opportunity for having these great quarterbacks is not going to last that long. So you look at Josh Allen, you look at somebody like you look at Lamar Jackson. You look at that game yesterday and the Steelers taking out the Ravens. That was another game that I watched most of that game. That was a really well-played game by the Steelers. They were able to control Derrick Henry on the ground. They were able to, force Lamar Jackson to throw the football. And so a lot of these teams can be beaten. There's no, great team, and so there's no more undefeated teams, and that's what I think the NFL showed this week.
Yeah, I still think they can be beaten, but Detroit Lions look head and shoulders above everyone in the NFC. Just a total convincing win over a Mac Jones, throw in the towel, Jacksonville Jaguars team that looks like they were done a couple of weeks ago. But I love how Coach Harbaugh keeps it simple, stupid, and I'm talking about Jim and John, but Jim with the game and the win last night, Sunday Night Football. He employs Gus Edwards, who a lot of people forgot about, but this guy is a grinder. Right. He keeps it simple, stupid, the KISS method in the red zone more than most of these coaches. They get really cute down there, and Jim Harbaugh goes to the old tried and true, running the football and then trying to pull you off guard with a little short yardage play action to tight ends. But the other thing, too, 3 sacks, 14 hits. That's Joe Burrow's back on the ground. And a lot were interior defensive linemen. They're rushing 4. They're not blitzing. It's not a lot of tricky stuff in front of them. It's just like you said, they're getting overpowered up front in the front line. And when it comes to beefing that front line up for Cincinnati, Jamar Chase had another great night, 2 touchdowns. T. Higgins, another great night. Those 2 receivers are ones that Higgins has gotten some money. Jamar Chase is on the brink to get some money. And when you talk about what they're going to pay for, I think they're probably going to lean towards the Jamar Chase contract when they probably should beef up the offensive line. Because when that guy has protection, he's one of the best in the game.
Oh, no. Listen, he had to throw the ball 50 times because the Chargers scored 24 points in the first half. They were down 21 at halftime. Right. It would have been one of the greatest comebacks by the Bengals in their history. They were down 21. They tied it up at 27. And like I said, McPherson was within 50 yards. He missed that one. Outside of 50 yards, but not even close. It wasn't like it just missed the uprights. We were talking 5-10 feet to the left of the upright. So he had an awful night. And my biggest thing was we should maybe do a discussion on this. Worst plane flights home of the weekend. That's a 4-hour flight where you got to get back on that flight knowing that you, the kicker, cost your team the game when, Joe Burrow's getting his butt kicked. The defense was playing great in the second half, keeping you in that football game and shutting down that Charger offense. They only had 3 points till about 3 minutes left to go in the football game. So the Bengals defense totally did something different in the second half and kept the Bengals in that game for them to come back.
The plague of the kicker. It was on display in Week 11. Go ask the Baltimore Ravens about their Hall of Fame Justin Tucker. Gosh, Captain yanks a lot. This guy could not put the ball in for the team to get a win against their biggest rival, who didn't score a touchdown, and their kicker, who I've never heard about Hall of Fame or some humongous contract that always just shows up to work and does his job. Bosworth, Rutan. What the hell?
Chris Boswell.
That dude is the best kicker of the day. And when he goes out there and does a Justin Tucker like Justin Tucker did this past Sunday, it will totally flip-flop. My thing is this. These kickers do not deserve long-term contracts. They do not deserve Hall of Fame talk until they're well and done. Justin Tucker's just like everybody else, replaceable. I thought that they lost that game because they trusted the Hall of Fame kicker, Justin Tucker. But they're not the only ones. You already brought up the Bengals. There are plenty more teams.
These guys have good weeks, bad weeks.
I know. Yep.
Your job is to try to be consistent.
It's your only job.
When you miss a field goal, I thought McPherson would go and you'd see him he just stood on the sidelines. He didn't even practice kicks. He didn't even do anything. So maybe he had an injury. Who knows? That's the problem. You need now, I used to rail against the bad backup quarterback. Now I think you need a backup kicker.
Oh, come on. Just have him on call on a soccer team somewhere.
You do maybe make the punter do some kicks. I don't know. Usually there used to be one guy did field goals, one guy did kickoffs because he had a stronger leg. To trust McPherson to win that game and have him miss his second field goal in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I was just shocked. I was shocked that the Bengals trusted him and didn't go for it. And that's why you see even the Bills, like you said about, Bass on the Bills is their kicker.
Missed an extra point to start the game.
4th and 2, you're on the road. Usually you go for the win on the road and you go for the tie at home. It's a gutsy play, and then he runs it in from about 25 yards out. But still, I mean, you've got Josh Allen, and when you have Josh Allen, it's like Lamar Jackson. He's a weapon himself.
I trust him more than I trust the kicker.
That's what I'm saying. So when you have a weapon like that to try to get you 2 yards, are you going to try to kick it and possibly miss and lose? Or are you going to say to my quarterback, who's an all-pro quarterback, listen, this is my guy. We're going to win a Super Bowl with this guy, or we're going to lose a Super Bowl with this guy. So I have the confidence that he's going to make this 2 yards. He ends up running it all the way in for a touchdown, winning the game.
How about Geno Smith's final drive against the San Francisco 49ers coming through again? This dude, man, do not doubt Geno Smith. When he gets in a rhythm, and you big DK Metcalf fan. I love Tyler Lockett.
Yep.
Like, they've got weapons on the outside. Just like Joe Burrow, if he gets a little bit of time, he can throw a fastball across the middle.
How about when he's running for his life, he threw a couple of off-balance throws that were right on the money?
Yep.
I'm just like that. Listen, that's why these guys get the money that they do, because they know I'm going to throw it right as somebody's going to try to decapitate me. That's what I respect about quarterbacks. Yes, they try to protect them, because if you watch how badly they get hit, he at one point in the end of the football game, he was trying to, I don't know, even run. He got sandwiched. His head hit another guy's knee, and his hip got smoked by another lineman. So that was about 700 pounds plus of hitting you high and hitting you low. That can destroy your career. That guy limped off a little bit, came back up, and kept playing. And so, listen, that's why I respect quarterbacks, man, especially the guys that'll stay in there and take a hit like that.
Geno, big win for Seattle. A couple youngsters getting some big wins. Bo Nix for Denver, Anthony Richardson for the Colts.
Jordan Love.
Jordan Love needed his special teams, man. He was shaking in his boots on the sideline watching that field goal team, but a fingertip, the baby pinky finger, getting a little bit of that football, and Green Bay survived Chicago. I thought the Bears played a decent football game. I thought that was a classic Green Bay-Chicago division football game in Soldier Field. Little nasty weather. Not too nasty, but nasty enough to realize you're playing football. And special teams. Great job. Second week in a row, we've had a walk-off field goal block. And I'm all here for it, man. Great job by the Green Bay Packers.
So McCaffrey, that was really the most work that he got. His first game, he had 13 carries for 39 yards, and they didn't try to kill him yesterday. 19 carries for 80 yards, basically, and he's just starting to it's like preseason for McCaffrey as he tries to come back.
I thought missing Kittle was a big deal for the San Francisco 49ers. As many weapons as they have, just that mismatch up the middle for him against linebackers, I think, is a big deal for San Francisco. But look at that division, man. Arizona Cardinals, they're in it to win it. Rams, they got to win over the Patriots. Seattle beating San Francisco. Like, everyone's evened up in the NFC West, and I don't know who's going to win it in the end.
All right, Tyson-Paul fight. Let's talk about this. I mean, listen, we talked about it and who we had over the weekend, but it was basically what I thought it would be. It was a sparring match. It's what they do in wrestling. You know that both of these guys could probably beat the living tar out of each other in a real fight. But when they both come out and neither one has a cut on them, neither one is battered and bruised, because basically they sparred for, what was it, a total of 8 rounds, 2-minute rounds, 16 minutes.
Correct.
16 minutes. One guy got 40+ million. The other guy got 25 million. Then they partied down hard at the end of the night. It was kind of like Ghostbusters, where they clear out the ghosts and then they party at Studio 54 after. I mean, it's just a farce on people. And I've been saying it all along. There hasn't been a guy to go in there and actually stand toe-to-toe with Jake Paul and see if this guy could be a legit boxer. And I don't know why. If Jake Paul wants to be a legit boxer, then box some young guys, not a 58-year-old guy.
Well, because no one wants to watch Jake Paul versus random guy X.
I want to see random guy kick the crap out of him.
I do too, but I'm such a sucker for this stuff, and there were a couple of fights that were decent, but the whole thing was wrapped in BS, man. Like the fights before Mario Barrios and those two fellas that are actually legit, That was all trash, like garbage to even call it boxing. I feel bad for any official referee that had to be a part of that to like consider it a part of their boxing career. The two fights before, Katie Taylor and Serrano.
That was a pretty good fight.
Oh my gosh, the ladies put on shows.
No, the ladies are legit going after each other.
You can call it boxing, you can call it MMA. Any female fight is some brutal stuff. Serrano with that huge cut, and then again, the official in that fight was trash. Like he was second rate at best. I feel bad for those ladies. It came down to a decision. Everyone thought Serrano, who was fighting with a big time gash that was getting headbutted and grinded by Katie Taylor, she should have won the fight. Everyone thought she should have won the fight, but it went the other way. But the whole thing was such a charade, man. I can't believe I fell for it. I'm glad I didn't spend any money on it. Glad I didn't bet on it, but I still felt duped by round 3 of the Tyson-Paul fight.
I mean, listen, round 1, it looked like Tyson was actually starting to fight a little bit, and then he backed off. And then now people are saying there was some kind of signal. But listen, they could be in the clutch and just be like, all right, you're a little too hard. That's what wrestling does. Wrestling talks about the finish. They talk about the wrestling while they're wrestling. I know a lot of pro wrestlers and stuff. They legit, they'll throw each other down on concrete from 12 feet. Or they'll jump off a cage onto a thing and try to almost break their back. And they do. They break their sternum. They break their back. They break their neck. They blow out their knees. They actually physically risk life and limb. These two guys, they went in there laughing about this all the way to the bank, and that doesn't do a service to boxing.
Right.
We love boxing. We want legit boxing. When you see people actually go at it, that are trying to legitimize the sport. These two guys for listen, and I agree with what Tyson said. Listen, he was really sick, had to go to the hospital, nearly died a couple months ago. Then don't box. Don't waste our time. But when you waste millions upon millions of people's time, money, thinking this is actually going to be a legit fight, and it's not, well, that's why you watch MMA.
Well, his final fight before this one, he was asked in the ring if he was going to fight again, and he said no because he doesn't want to disgrace the sport anymore. It's more like a job to make money, and he knows that he's not giving his best. And then that was 18 years ago when he's 40 or something like that, even a little bit earlier than that maybe. And now comes out, needed the money, got the payday. Yeah. So did Jake Paul. So did Netflix. So did all the advertisers that signed up for that. 60 million people watched. But when it comes to the future of things, if you don't know it was garbage before, you should know now. It's not boxing.
Been saying it from the first Jake Paul fight.
It's not boxing. It is some
He's
kind
an
of
actor.
It is like WWE, especially with everything else that was going on. I thought that the fight presentation was horrible. I thought that the production was horrible.
Rosie O'Donnell or whatever.
Rosie Perez.
Now, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's still awful.
She's commentated on boxing in the past. She's been on Dan Le Batard commentating on boxing before as well. But she is an actress, and I love her.
That's right.
I love
her.
White Man Can't Jump, one of my favorite movies. Great.
Again, Jim Lampley or somebody like that.
It's a scripted situation. Right. This was live television. It was obvious that she's never done live television. Neither has Roy Jones Jr. It was obvious Roy Jones Jr. has taken some hits to the head. Like, there were some confusing statements that he made that were contradictory that would make Yogi Berra blush. The announcer that was with them was trying to carry them along, but fell back into cliche universe. It was just that those three were one thing. Then you had Cedric the Entertainer, where you're scratching your head. Why in the hell's he here? He's actually talking about his personal bets.
It's entertainment.
Exactly. It was more of that.
By the time you realize that and you're sucked in,
that's me.
Now you're ticked.
That's me.
Well, you probably put money on the fight.
No, I stayed up and gave it time. The time, I did not put money on it. I did not pay money to see it. But the time I invested in, I felt bad to myself that I'm wasting my life watching this crap.
Kurt, what'd you think?
I didn't watch.
Yeah, Kurt stayed away.
I didn't bother.
Ask me, did you watch?
It started to lock up in the place I was, and I gave up on it. And
by the way,
was terrible.
By the way, the streaming was buffering, and it was
buffering and terrible. Yeah.
By the way, the stock price for Netflix is way down this morning.
It should be. It should be. But again, that's a different thing. Getting back to the fight, though, we knew it's either going to be legit and Tyson's going to kick the crap out of him as a 58-year-old man, or it's going to be this, which was entertainment, which, again, nobody wants that except for Paul's people. Like, Jake Paul's people think this is a win.
Yes.
Jake Paul,
1000%.
Logan Paul, they're it's not just laughing to the bank. This is what they do. This is YouTube, TikTok. This is all of the social media. They are the younger generation. They feel like they pulled one over on our generation. I'm 60, so I watched Tyson when I was in the minor leagues. He was coming up, as an early pro fighter. So when you realize what generation this is, probably most of the viewers are Jake Paul's people. They schedule the next fight in 6 months. These people will watch again. There'll be 50 million people. The 10 million will be us. That's like, I'm not falling for this farce.
Well, that's the thing is Jake Paul and whoever, their job was to get viewers and to get butts in the seats. Check. Their job was not to convince you that this fight was legit. If you were to think that as a boxing association, if the Texas Boxing Committee has any kind of shame today or this weekend, or Netflix as being a legit sports network, then you have embarrassed yourself on Friday night with what you did. Now, that's not Jake Paul's fault. You should have known that that's what you were going to get. You wanted the viewers, got them. You wanted the butts in the seats, got them. Wanted the advertising, got it. Future, you don't got that because of what happened on Friday night. Boxing lost. The Netflix sports lost, and I think a lot of people that were involved that considered themselves, legit professionals lost.
When I was doing the Best Damn Sports Show, we did boxing like once a month, and sometimes from Playboy Mansion, sometimes, and I stay and watch the fights. Men or women that go into that ring, you come out a different person. You are so beat up, so destroyed. Yeah. MMA's like another step. That's another level of destruction. My wife, when I used to start taking Jonna to some of these things, couldn't believe we'd go in before they just sparring and wrestling, getting ready for the fight, working up a lather, and she's like, "Oh, look at how handsome that guy is." Look at. We'd go in after somebody's on a gurney, somebody's face is ripped apart, they can't open their eyes. That's legit fighting. It's scary. Not everybody's into that kind of stuff. But when you're getting paid, and I'm talking about MMA, like we go to Bellator, we go to some of these other ones, even the lower level ones, you're getting maybe $10,000 to win. If that. You might, like Dana White back in UFC, which a lot of UFC fighters he would tick off, you maybe got a $25,000, $50,000 bonus for the fight of the night. So that made you fight even harder. So if you were trying to, fight and get paid to fight, that's a little bit different. If Jake Paul and Tyson are going in there going, listen, you know what? We have to have the fight of the night just like these other fighters. You're going to fight differently. But when you know you're making 20, 25 million, the other guy knows he's making around 50 million, probably plus whatever Netflix is going to pay him for 3 or 4 fights. Again, that's where it's different, where these guys know, listen, we did what we came to do. We got 60 million people to pay into this crap. That's all they're trying to do.
There were 2 legitimate fights with 4 legitimate fighters.
And I'd love to know what they got paid.
Yeah, I would too. That is right. But it's tough because it was wrapped around all of the jabroni hullabaloo hype. And it's tough to pick that out.
All right, we'll come back. Let's talk about some of these teams shaking up, some of the firings as far as college coaches go. That continues, and also baseball stadium football. It was awesome.
I love it.
Ohio State, Northwestern, watched a lot of that game to realize I used to play Major League Baseball on that field. Crazy. I love those kind of things. So we'll talk about that when we come back.